Hi there.
Hi.
You hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
All right. How are you?
Good. Thanks for willing to do this.
Where are you?
Oh, I'm outside of Minneapolis.
Oh, okay. Great. I have a dog, so if you hear him, that's Andy.
So the first thing I can ask is how you what was the job that got you into SAG?
That is a different question. I You could join AFTRA. The union was much more powerful then. There was not non-union work like there is now. So you could join AFTRA and just pay the money in Florida where my folks lived.
Hmm.
And did I do that? I think I did that first. I don't remember, or I joined after New York. I did like some stuff on a soap opera. And
Okay.
then, oh no, it's the other way around. I got on a soap opera in New York and I was AFTRA. And then when I was in Florida visiting them, I went down to the SAG office in Miami and you could pay the money. Like you didn't have to have a job back then. It's two unions. And I think that was it. But um, so it wasn't even a job. I just knew that I had to take that step. It was
Hmm.
really important.
Well, because I was gonna guess maybe that a Girls Night Out would have been how you got in.
No, I was already doing commercials.
Okay.
So funny that's getting all this attention all of a sudden. They're doing some kind of with the cast on camera to the it's a new release or something. Somebody called me. Your hair is amazing.
Oh, thank you. So you had a good experience on that movie.
It was fun. There wasn't a lot of shooting back then in New York, and it was a fun time, but it wasn't like it was a really low budget movie,
Right.
and there were like two takes of everything or one take, and so it was so quick, and it was a really short shoot. I want to say like 21 days or something. I mean, it was really that's really not how it's done.
And were you or back then, or if you are now, are you like personally a fan of horror as a genre at all, or
Mm, no, but I'm good at screaming, so I have done a lot of that.
yeah?
In voiceover, done a lot. I've done a lot of uh, jobs, mental wards, people screaming, fright. But in that time period, the horror movie was really in vogue,
Hmm.
and they just seem to be shooting a lot of those. So,
Hmm.
you know.
And what was your personal experience on Facts of Life?
Well, that was really exciting because it was like the first thing I auditioned for out here. Well, and what the first time I came, and I was only supposed to be on the show once, and they kept having me back. And then they said they were going to spin off. Didn't happen right away. I mean, there was going to be a spin off, but it was like it didn't happen till years later. And then different people were in power.
Mm.
But that was really fun, and because it was so new. I'd never been at Universal before, and driving there was really scary because didn't really drive. And whoever gave me the directions told me I had to go on the freeway, but you really don't.
Mm.
So, but it was exciting.
I hadn't seen you talk about your experience on Night Court either.
Oh, I don't think I get asked on these guest stars, like these guest things. It's fun. It's always, it's a lot of pressure in terms of everything's very quick. They have their routine, and you're just coming in for those days and I was used to doing theater and you rehearse things over and over again, and it's not like that. So you have to be really prepared. But I enjoyed it. I mean, I like the part too. It was
Mhm.
really, that's when I was doing a lot of screaming, a lot of fans and hard to hold screaming. Uh,
On the topic of hard to hold, did you get to interact much with Rick?
Yeah, I did. I was there a lot more than I was on screen. I worked one day and they said, we're going to take you uh, to San Francisco because I did it here in Los Angeles. And I said, okay, I'd never been to LA. I mean, to San Francisco, and I was new to LA. And so they took me, and then they were going to have me follow, they thought they were going to have me like follow him throughout the whole movie, but it didn't quite work out that way. Like they had me come to the set and they had these other like fans and stuff, but they look like Hell's Angels. And I was like this little dainty, powder puff uh, girl. And it was didn't make any sense that I would be even on the same street or
Mm,
anything. So that sort of got, but they just kept me there. I mean, they paid me, but they kept me on in the hotel and weekly. So it was weird, but I did have interactions with him and uh, nothing I can really say. And I had a lot of interactions with Patty Hansen, who was great. And she said, "Oh, here, talk to my boyfriend." And it was Keith Richards. So that was kind of really exciting. He's
yeah.
in Cabo. And then he came to support her. He came to our rap party. And so I met him. So that was kind of a thrill,
Mhm.
for you Rolling Stones fans out there.
Yeah. It does make me think to ask, has there been a case throughout your entire career where you were like really daunted or starstruck in terms of who you were working with?
I have met people and I was like, I couldn't talk, but
Mhm.
it's not like people that you would even, I did a commercial with Paul Newman
Oh,
and that wasn't a lot of, there was no talking in the commercial. It was for Japanese TV for Maxwell House Coffee. And so he was looking at me playing in the pool with I was babysitting, I was supposed to be babysitting this little girl. And so he's drinking his coffee. That was no dialogue. And so that was kind of, I knew from my parents, it was such a big deal, Oh, Paul Newman to me at that age, I was like, oh, yeah. Like now I wish I had engaged more. But then there have been people that I've met and I couldn't speak, like Hank Azaria, and who would think that? But he just reminded me so much of a dear friend that isn't here anymore. And I like so much, and I like couldn't talk. I just couldn't talk. But you wouldn't go, oh wow, I met Ron Liebman, and I'm sure you don't know who that is, but you can look him up. And I couldn't talk. So yeah,
mhm.
it's happened.
And was there a specific situation that happened that made you want to pursue voiceover opposed on camera?
It wasn't a situation, but all of a sudden I fell into ADR and post production, and I liked not having to audition. I like just being said, "Hey, can you show up tomorrow?" I mean, now you do it from your closet, but can you show up tomorrow? Or are you available in a week? Can you do these voices? And I went, "Oh, I really like that." It was really fun. And I didn't want to do, when I was like doing a lot of on camera commercials, that was fun. When you get everything, it's fun. When you not getting as much or somebody else becomes popular, it's just not as fun. So that when going into something where I could just get hired, I went, this is cool.
Mhm. And is the credit right that you were part of All Dogs Go to Heaven in some way?
I might have done ADR on that. I have no memory of it because you don't see the whole movie.
Right.
You usually just see parts and scenes. So, you know, um, I guess I did it. I'm sorry. I don't have a fun little anecdote.
Well, with all the like ADR that you've done for major film and TV, like To Die For and movies like that, is there like a standout story with a particular project?
Um, well, I have worked with directors who come in and they get really involved in the ADR, and then some don't get involved at all.
Mhm.
And I remember Keeping the Faith with Ed Norton,
Right.
and he was there because he directed the movie. I think he might have, I don't know if he wrote it, I don't remember. And that's with Ben Stiller, and it's a really sweet movie. And Bancroft, and he was there, but he didn't engage with us at all. Then I did some other big, it was one of those Marvel things I worked
Mhm.
on, and the director was there, and he spent like half a day wanting one specific voice, and he ended up doing it himself. And that's not how you run, because there were like 30 people in the room, 30 actors. Groups aren't usually that big, but this one had a really big cast. It was a big budget movie, and that was just like inexperience or ego, because you wouldn't keep everybody waiting around. You get there done. If he wanted to do it, he could always do it later or another day. um did I answer your question?
Yeah. Well, this is going back to On Camera. It's a movie that I like that I really don't see people talk about. What was your experience on Nobody's Perfect?
Oh, that was really fun. That was really, really fun because that's with Chad Lowe, right?
Yeah.
That's the one with Chad Lowe. Okay. Um, um, that was good because I knew the writer or producer. I knew someone who brought me in. And then my scene was with Robert Vaughn, who didn't speak to me. I mean, it didn't that he did not speak to me, but he was just doing it for, probably the paycheck. And they were needing a couple of names to sell it, abroad. That was, you know, so it was him and Elkie Summer, who they didn't end up using. They shot her and they didn't think it worked. So they cut the scene, or they used someone else, I don't remember. And so Robert Vaughn didn't speak with me. Chad Lowe did, but he was dressed as a girl. And I don't remember the other actor's name. He works a lot. I had a good time. That's really how you judge it, is do you have fun? Are the people nice? And how are the craft services, or
Yeah.
the meal? Which all that's going to change now.
Mhm. And so, what was the story of how you became involved with Hello Kitty and playing Mimi?
Oh, I was doing anime. I think I got Digimon. No, I did something called Super Pig. And
Right.
then I did First, that they never really aired, but it was like 50 episodes or something. And then they cast me in Hello Kitty, and then Digimon. So I did, but we didn't even know what anime was, because I had
Mhm.
already done original animation, and anime is actually, it's a completely different skill. And if you talk to Mike Sorich, you know that, from he's a terrific director and an actor. So, but in that anime world, I mean, at least for me, I was just like, oh, okay, I'll do this. But it didn't quite make sense because you're having to match flaps
Right.
instead of creating something.
Yeah, Mike was one of my he was my last interview of about 2021.
Yeah, that's what you said. That's why
Yeah.
I said, well, if Mike did it, then I have to do it.
So, and everybody kind of has different answers to how they personally took the dubbing. What was it like for you?
I didn't find it that easy. I
Mm.
mean, now I understand, I understand it, but and there were years that I didn't do it, or I would just do a little bit, like the Digimon franchise, but I wasn't pursuing it or anything. It's become so popular, but and it is fun, but it definitely was a learning curve to match that. And sometimes the writing doesn't always match up, and they just go, oh, faster, or say it this way. So you have to act with the restraints.
Mhm.
It's not like original animation where you just say it and then they draw
Mhm.
it.
How do you think you could personally relate to Patamon at all then?
I like to eat. He's really fun. He's really joyful. But they said, is he a girl? Is it a boy? A girl? And then we decided, but it wasn't like right away that it was just sort of male, but I guess he'd be non-binary now or something.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on coming back for the newer movies?
Oh, it was great. I was excited. I mean, anime doesn't pay a lot.
Hmm.
It's like an hourly rate, and it's not something you can do for 8 hours or, that's for sure. I mean, it sounds good, but and so I was really excited to do it. And you just see your part. So
Yeah.
you really don't have a sense like when people, and that was such a big cast. So when people go, oh, so and so, and I'm like, well, I know they were in Digimon, but I never saw them because you work by yourself.
Right. Well, is there anybody in the that primarily works in anime that you became friends with?
I mean, I'm very friendly with Mike, with
Yeah.
Sorge, like when I see him, hug him, and, like that kind of thing. Wendy Lee, I'm friends with. And I would say Jeff Nimoy,
Hmm.
I'm friendly with. But, it's a kind of an odd question right now because I'm not seeing anybody with
Right.
COVID. I mean, it's in LA, it's pretty, I mean, you can, but you know, it's pretty locked down in terms of where people go, oh, well, we'll eat outside somewhere. I mean, the restaurants are open, but not feeling like, oh, I want to go to meet you inside.
Right.
What's next, Chris?
Well, on the topic of anime, is there any kind of a story of getting involved with Twin Star Exorcist?
I was there for Digimon and I was talking in the kitchen and the owner, Jamie Simone, said, "Oh, Laura," you know, and then they just said, "Oh, do you want to do this show?" And I was like, "Sure." It was like that.
Okay.
But I had worked, I don't want people to think that it's show business it's like that sometimes, but for new people and people just getting in, it's probably not like that.
Mhm.
And it's not like that for me much either, but that was one of those cases where he said, hey, you want to do this? And it was like 50 shows and I was probably in 35 of them. And it came at a really good time. And I really love working at Studiopolis. But that show didn't really, they buy the Japanese product and then they dub it. And then sometimes there's more seasons and sometimes there aren't, and
Mhm.
that show I don't think really caught on. But from what I saw, it was good.
Yeah. Did you find it easier to relate to her character than opposed to Patamon?
No, it's not like that. It's not like about relating, I guess. It's just like, oh, I get to play, at least for me now, I get
Hmm.
to do this, and this character likes to have fun, or this girl likes this boy, but this boy doesn't like her. So it's more like that. When I did Cells at Work, Code Black, last year I wasn't thinking, that's like all diseases and they're like
Right.
cells protecting. So you just play the part.
Hmm. Well, one of my signature questions is always asking, what is the like most emotionally involved headspace you've had to go for voiceover in general, if there is one?
I think when you have to scream, or play someone like on movies I've done where you're like in mental, wards or something like that. And it's all improvisation,
Right.
ADR. It's not like a script. So then I think that's kind of hard. I mean, you feel like, oh, I really created something, but it is, you want to be good. I
Hmm.
mean,
And what do you have a particular process for doing boy voices too? Because everybody I've talked to kind of has their own way of doing it. Seems
they do. Can you give me some tips?
well, like when I talked to Kari Walgren, She said that she kind of puts on like a James Brown type of thing with her voice.
That's funny. Um, and that makes her sound like a little boy?
Yeah,
Huh. I'll have to check that out. Um, no, it's just sort of a tone that I just think of, or, and there's a big difference between little boys, like real little boys, and cartoon little boys.
right.
And, you know, I think I'm better at dolls and bunnies and male boys who are little cartoons or anime or something like that. Then there are some people who can do great human boys. And I could if they're like up to 5, 6, but I can't do it past that.
Okay.
That's not my specialty.
And with how much you work in ADR as well, do you know Bridget Hoffman?
I do.
Okay.
And Bridget, do you know Bridget Hoffman?
Yeah, I was the first person to interview her back in July. She'd never done one before.
That yeah, because she's really does a lot, way more than me. Her and her husband do a lot of ADR. So how did you find her? I mean, how did you go like, oh, I want to interview her?
Oh, I'm well, I am a I'm just I'm a huge fan of her for anime that she was part of like when I
Oh,
was
that's right. That's right. She does a lot of anime. She has done a lot of anime. I forgot because I don't know her that way. I know her from acting class out here with Joan Darling. I first knew her, and then I did ADR with her. And we worked for the same guy, so we were in a lot of groups together. And she's so talented.
Mhm.
She's one of those people that can sound like just really imitate people because for sound alikes, and she just really and she's a really good actress. I forgot because you don't see the people. You just don't see
Right.
the people.
So you guys actually knew each other like way back.
Yeah, in acting class when I first
Wow,
came out here. Yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah. I know Michelle Ruff does a lot of ADR too.
I know her, and I talked to her husband. He's an engineer.
Yeah.
He helped me, but I don't know Michelle very well. But I know we've overlapped on projects and stuff.
Mhm. And I think having talked to Kirk Thornton too, I know he does some ADR for major things too.
Yeah, I mean, he was on some of those anime shows. I think he
Yeah.
was on Digimon, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he? Yeah. See, there's so many people on Digimon. It's not like we all know each other.
Right.
And when we used to go to a place, maybe the person coming out of the session you might say hello to, or the person going in after you, but you're not together.
Hmm.
ADR, film ADR, TV, I've done a lot of TV ADR, you're all together.
Right.
I've done a lot of work for Disney, like a lot of shows. When they were just so great to me, and my mother was having trouble and ill, and I was going back and forth to Florida, and I said, oh, I can't be there. And they said, no, we'll wait for you.
Oh wow.
We'll schedule it when you're going to come back. And that's very unusual. And that was just really great.
Hmm. This is more of a specific. Um, is there because for me personally, it was cool to see you be part of a butterfly effect.
Is that the one with the Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't there. He wasn't famous. I remember the people being really nice. And but it's not like being on a set.
Right.
And I've worked in the film business too, where you're on a set, and I wasn't acting, but I was working uh for the producer or something like that. I also did some other stuff, and it's just a whole different side than when you're hired as an actor and everybody's looking at you, than when you're like talking to the line producer about, this is a problem or this or that, or can we get this, and they're going, no, we don't want to spend the money, and you're like, well, yeah, it takes so many people to make a TV show or a movie. Um, I think people just don't understand. And directors like will spend a year, 2 years on a feature.
Yep. What about with Knight's Tale, since that was Heath Ledger and
That was ADR also, but it was outside. I think maybe Bridget Hopper was there. I don't know. Um, but it was outside. I know who I work for, and he always hired her. So they did it in Malibu outside. You don't ever, I have never recorded outside before or since. It's always in a studio or a booth.
Hmm.
So that was really fun. And it was a lot of people, very unusual. I don't know how, I want to say like 40 people, and that's like crazy. Because like these Disney shows, it would be like 4 people.
Hmm.
These series are very hard jobs to get. And what's so great is they just keep going. It's steady. Not always. Sometimes they'll switch it up and use different people. But anyway, uh, that was a fun time being outside like that.
And has there been many cases where you've gotten to meet the like stars or leads of the film?
Well, not in post production. Usually, like, I said, like Ed Norton was there, but, so he was hanging, but he wasn't engaging with us. It just really depends. I mean, I certainly met more stars when I was acting,
Okay.
on camera. I met a lot of stars. I mean, I met a lot of people who did commercials that, or um, I don't know, you just meet when you're going over to Universal or you were going over to Sony, and then you see blah blah, or and you know
This is more of a technical voiceover question. What do you think is the case where you've had to alter your voice the most significantly for a part?
well, the long running things, like or have to be somewhat, not that they're my voice, but nothing where would get a strain. Like it's really easy for me to do Padaman, or I don't know where it came from. It just came. I saw the little, I think I didn't even see a picture. I just don't even know why I ended up playing that part. I don't even know why. And Hello Kitty, same thing. Oh, could you do a little girl? Yeah, I could do that. And then on Garfield, I did the same, very similar, only the girls were really annoying. And that was original animation. So I didn't have to match anything. And then I did both parts, but I would record one part and then record the other part, listening to the first part and coming in a slight beat behind. That's how they did that.
Hmm.
But none of these things are really like the ADR on the movies, though, you'd be sore after by the end of the day, because that's could be 8 hours, or it could be screaming. If it was a sports movie, have a lot of screaming in it. So those jobs are harder.
Hmm. And with all the characters you played, who do you think that you have the most affinity with?
Oh, I don't never think like, I think there's a little bit of me in all the characters.
Yeah.
you know, it's what a little bit somehow it just sort of morphs.
Mhm. So is there anything else that's upcoming that you're a part of that you can safely talk about, or?
Oh, like an NDA. Um, I can't. I just did something last week, a new series and a pilot that's supposed to go, and it would be a really fun show. And but I can't
Okay.
talk about it.
My final question then is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
I don't, it's so funny. I get a lot of attention now about Ghostbusters
Hmm.
because of all the, I guess, the fans who are young then, they watch it with their little, I'm talking about little kids like 5 years old, and you know well, the parents are sending me photos of their kids, with their Ghostbuster gear and all that. And I sort of, at the time, it wasn't like I just read it. I didn't even read it with a New York accent. I have spoken about this before. I got it. They cast me in it. I did not, I just saw it was just my own voice. It was a secretary. I had done a zillion secretaries in commercials, you know. Um, and so I just did it. And then in the room, they decided, they were like, can you do a New York accent? I was like, well, yeah, and it was just now looking back when I didn't watch those shows for years. And now that I have seen them, because they've been airing them a different thing, or people will send me stuff, I go, oh, I was so good. And the character to me is very relatable, and being such a wise ass, and yet really running the show in her way and they weren't writing for women characters in cartoons like that then. That was very unusual. I love doing it, and that I hope I bring some joy, through my voice, or and help make the characters real. I have gotten a lot of people saying you really helped my childhood,
Mhm.
get a lot of fan stuff from them, people privately, or mostly it's private on Twitter or something like that. And it's so nice. I never thought of that.
Mhm.
I wouldn't, I just never thought that I was doing anything important. And it's not brain surgery, but to have people say, oh, that really helped me so much
Mhm.
as a kid when you did this episode, and then I have to look it up because I don't always remember what episode it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things that inspired me to start doing this, was a specific incident that happened when I was in fourth grade. So it was like a shooting that my family was a part of that we got
Oh,
out of. So
oh my God, was anyone hurt?
well, the story is that we were out to eat normally at a place that we always went to, and then we were about to leave, and we were told that nobody can leave. And then right as people are like asking questions, heavily armed SWAT people come in, and then they turn all the lights off, and everybody has to go into the bathroom for like huddle into the bathrooms for 5 hours or something, because there was a guy who murdered two people and crashed his car outside the restaurant, and he was trying
Outside
to.
the restaurant, but not in the restaurant. But it
Yeah.
must have been traumatic for your family.
Yeah, and I was like in fourth grade at the time, so I didn't have any other way to get over that with outside of the anime and that I was watching at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. Well, it's funny that I'm so sorry that happened,
Oh,
but your guys were safe,
mhm.
because that is traumatic. And it was the restaurant crowd. How many people were in the bathroom? Do
Gosh,
you
I don't
remember? Was it
know.
really crowded for 5 hours? And
Yeah, probably like 30, 40
oh
people.
wow.
Yeah.
Whew. Well, I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, it started with Wendy Lee in like October of 2020, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Oh
So
wow, Wendy's great.
yeah.
Like I said, she's a friend, and she's so talented and so busy, and um, yeah, just a joyful person.
Hmm. Well, thank you. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Oh, you were persistent, and that's good. That's a really good quality, because it wasn't anything personal. It's just that I can only do, I don't even know why people want to talk to me, but I do get a lot of requests, and then you have to decide, it takes, and especially if the time difference, and if you're here during the day, and if you have to hand something in, or you're working. So good for you to be so persistent and follow through. Very professional.
Oh, thank you. Hopefully, I tried to talk more about some things that you hadn't talked about before. So
You did. You asked some interesting questions.
great.
So, you know, best to you.
I'll be sure to send it to you once I have it up if you want to see it as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Chris.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.